Welcome in and welcome back. We are here for the review of Season 2, Episode 1 of The Mandalorian. I'm going to be doing this just like I did the first season, which you're cockeyed, aren't you? It doesn't really matter. Just like I did the first season, which, by the way, I know I still have to make up the first 2 episodes of the first season. I have them shot. I just got to get them posted. This is Episode 1, The Marshal. There will be spoilers herein. There will be... I'm not going to do a whole lot. I'm not a Star Wars guy. I need to put that out there first and foremost. So I'm probably going to say some things that do not make sense with Star Wars. But The Mandalorian has really fickled my tansy. So I am doing a review episode by episode for Season 2, just like I did Season 1. And but yeah, like I said, the last 2 episodes of Season 1 will be posted sometime this week. The first thing I want to talk about... I said a little bit in the first season. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be talking more about themes and storytelling and character development than I am with really more than I am doing movie review type stuff. I'm talking more about the literary type stuff inside stories such as this. So, like I said, last season started with an individual. With the Mandalorian. The Mandalorian was on a job, was on a mission, and we got desolation. It was on an ice planet. So in the first season, we saw ice planets, we saw desert planets, we saw a prison ship, a lot of desolation, because Mando's world was very small, was very isolated. He was an individual here, like we learned at the end of Season 1. He is in a clan of 2. There's going to be spoilers here. I don't remember if I said that or not. He is a clan of 2. So his world is growing. The world in which he will find himself will be growing. This season, as we have several individuals to whom Mando is close, including already 2 that have fallen, we start in a city. We did not start with a whole lot of civilization in the last season, and we didn't get a whole lot of civilization in the last season, but it makes sense thematically. Since the Mando's world is growing, he's got Baby Yoda, he's got Cara Dune, he's got Carl Weathers, who I'm pretty sure is just named Carl Weathers in this series. He has his tribe, which is the Mandalorians themselves, which has shrunk, but he still has the armorer, and he is looking for other Mandalorians. His world is growing, so it will make thematic sense for us to see him interacting with more and more people, more and more civilizations, more and more situations. So we see him in a city-type setting at the fights. May or may not have happened something like that in Season 1. I'm going to do the season and episode flipping. I do that all the time. But we didn't get a whole lot of it in Season 1. Here we have the Mandalorian interacting with 3 civilizations. The city in which we find ourselves at the beginning, with the... Now I've lost it. With the Tuscan Raiders and with the city, the Moss... Blah, 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 the Moss city that he finds himself in, and which he's helping. He is interacting with all of those different people because we've seen the Mandalorian grow. Also, good storytelling techniques. I'm going to come back to this just like I did in the first season. We don't have to learn about the Mandalorian. We know the Mandalorian. And since we know the Mandalorian, we can see him bounce off of other people much more easily. Now, what is the first thing that we know about the Mandalorian? The Mandalorian is business, baby. So we have this under-the-table deal, which goes awry. But before it does, the quote from the John Leguizamo character, I knew that voice. The John Leguizamo character gives us this quote: "It's uncouth to talk business immediately." But we, knowing the Mandalorian, know it's all business all the time. So the moment that quote is introduced, that it's uncouth to talk business immediately, don't you know that? We know that the speaker of this line, John Leguizamo, and the Mandalorian are going to be at odds. they're not going to see eye to eye. See what I did there? It's the Cyclops. Eye to eye. They're not going to get along. And the reason they're not going to get along, and we're going to come back to this, is that the John Leguizamo character is not business first. So we're going to get back to that. Got to find my notes here. I'm jumping around a whole lot. So the Mandalorian, when he comes to the town and he finds the Marshal dressed in the Mandalorian armor, he says, "You better give it to me. You have no right at that." Now here's what we're going to see. We're going to see a standoff, but it's interrupted because the Marshal has business to take care of. The reason the Mandalorian is diffused in that moment of despair, in that moment of conflict, the reason he is diffused instead of taking that moment to shoot down the Marshal is because he understands the Marshal is a man of business, is a man of duty, is a man of his own code. Now, if you're anything like me, and if you find yourself here, you certainly are, you are well versed with the universe of Chael P. Sonnen. And the P is not for nice. You're familiar with the bad guy, Chael P. Sonnen. Chael P. Sonnen did a mini-series on his channel. He never really got back to it. I'm a little upset. I hope he does. How to be the bad guy. And one of the things that he says in How to Be the Bad Guy is that you're allowed to have whatever code you want. That's what the bad guy does. The bad guy chooses his own code. He's not Captain America going by truth, justice, and the American way. He's not Superman going by truth, justice, and the American way. He's not the alpha male. That's not the bad guy. Chael, a little bit wrong, I think. A little bit misguided. What you're describing there, the person who chooses their own code, that's not the bad guy. That's the anti-hero. That is the Sigma type personality to an alpha type personality. Now, what's the difference between this? Superman is the alpha type personality. Batman is the Sigma type personality. Cyclops is the alpha type personality. Wolverine, Sigma type personality. Captain America, the alpha type personality. Iron Man, the Sigma type personality. You create your own code, you are your own authority, and you go. So this is what we're seeing here, is that the Mandalorian understands his own code. So we have this working on multiple levels here. The Mandalorian code is that armor is mine, and you don't have two words to put in edgewise. But Mando's code, being a Sigma-type personality, which really the Mandalorians seem to be comprised of Sigma-type personalities, but the Sigma-type personality says, okay, I don't have to kill you. We can find some other way to do this. The code will remain, but we can figure out our own way about it. So that is the anti-hero type personality, not the bad guy Chael. And we can arm wrestle over it. That said, I mentioned Batman a little bit earlier. Count on your fingers in each episode the number of times that this guy is Batman, that he just is Batman. And I don't think that is accidental. Basically what we're doing is we're putting Batman in the Old West on a Star Wars show. It is an interesting combination of things. But all the gadgets, all the badass one-liners, all of the about business, all of the Sigma type individual stuff going on, it is impossible. All the masked stuff, the cape, all this stuff. It's impossible not to look at this guy at this point and see a little bit of Batman in there. So I think it's interesting to just sort of keep count of how many times things like that pop up in each episode. I'm not going to do it, not literally. Another thing that is interesting to see pop up is something that did pop up in the first season as well, and that is the old Western trope of the wise cowboy who knows the ways of the Indian. You have Din Djarin, the Mando, diffusing an interaction with Tuscan Raiders, with sand people. This is stolen straight from old westerns, and it is one of these tropes from the old western that what literature seeks to do. And we're going to get back to this a little bit in the end of the episode. What literature seeks to do is to unify people by proving. One of the things that literature does, I should say, one of the things that literature does is that it seeks to unify people by showing us that we're all kind of the same type of asshole. All of us have quirks. All of us are jerks. All of us have things that we do right, things that we do wrong, things from which we must learn. This trope from the old western is really that trope personified. There is always hostility between peoples when they are living amongst one another. People are always going to hate each other. What the wise cowboy trope does is he says, okay, well, you might hate the Tuscan Raiders. You really might. And they might hate you too. But it's only because you don't know each other. I know you, and I know the Tuscan Raiders. I can bring all of us together. So that is the trope that we're going for there. And it works pretty well. It works, I think. So we saw it last season, I believe, in the episode with the young bounty hunter who wanted to get into the guild. I think it works better this time around. I think that it is interesting to see the Mandalorian. It's interesting. I'll get to this later. Something popped up in my mind I got to talk about later. But it's interesting to see him being a peacekeeper in this way, but it also infers a history. Is it something that all Mandalorians can do, talk to Tuscan Raiders, or is it just something that Mando can do, talk to Tuscan Raiders? What is it? Why do Tuscan Raiders and Mandalorians get along? Do they live a similar Spartan-type lifestyle? It just raises some questions that I have every bit of faith in Jon Favreau that we're going to learn these things. One thing, I'm, like I said, not really a Star Wars guy. I don't know a whole lot about Star Wars. It was weird to see the Jawas as good guys, was it not? Maybe. There's a whole lot of Star Wars mythos that I am just unfamiliar with, which I am just unfamiliar. But it was a bit different for me to see those Jawas as the good guys, which leads me into my next point. There's a whole goddamn lot of mythos building in this episode. We have new creatures. Remember when we had the dog-type creatures with which the Tuscan Raiders live, and Mando is able to talk to them as well, which there was a real weird moment in the episode where I was really positive that this was just going to be a civilization of intelligent four-legged creatures with which the Mandalorian could interact. But it turns out he was just doing a dog call, basically, a dog whistle. But it was interesting to see that. I didn't know those things existed. Again, not a Star Wars guy, so maybe something slipped past me. We see the Jawas as good guys, which maybe that's a common thing in the Star Wars universe. Didn't know it. We see, but I think it's not, because the idea was introduced by Queel in the first episode, in the first season. I did it again. It was introduced by Queel in the first season when he said that they don't injure people, right? They don't hurt people. They're just taking stuff. That's all they know. They take stuff. We've got new cities on old planets. We have an old bad guy renewed. I'll get to that, I think, a little bit later as well. Yeah, going to get to that a little bit later as well. But that was something interesting to see. Again, if you haven't watched the episode, there are spoilers herein. Speaking of cross-medium, this is kind of a television show, references, when they put that big dumb-looking animal outside the dragon's lair, did anyone else have the thought, hey, dragons don't want to be fed. They want to hunt. Did anyone else think that? Jurassic Park? No? Yes? No? Okay. I made another Jurassic Park reference today at one point. Must Go Faster. That was the one that I made at some point today. I can't remember when, but it was stuck in my head maybe. Maybe that's why it popped up there. Here's a question. I don't understand. Maybe I don't understand. Spoilers again. So Boba Fett's in this. Boba Fett was eaten by the Sarlacc thing on this planet, correct? So Boba Fett was eaten by the Sarlacc. The dragon ate the Sarlacc. The Jawas have Boba Fett's armor. Am I doing the math wrong here? Or mustn't the Jawas be able to tame the dragon? Am I missing that? Did I do that math wrong? What's going on there? Someone explain that to me. But yeah, we have Boba Fett, which was a neat bait and switch, because we are assuming we're getting Boba Fett at some point in the series, right? And we had that little episode where we got the spurs last season. So here we are on the same planet, and we introduce Boba Fett's armor, but not on Boba Fett. I think there were probably a good deal of Star Wars fans who were herein disappointed. But fear not, we get Boba without his armor. It is a bait and switch to let us down and bring us right back up. Again, I don't know a whole lot about Star Wars culture or anything, but I do know how beloved is the Boba Fett character, and I do trust Jon Favreau and this series not to screw it up. The next thing I have to mention, if we're talking about old Star Wars, if we're talking about Star Wars of yore, it's difficult for me to acknowledge the fact that Star Wars Episode 1 is 21 years old. 21 years old, right? 1999. I mean, I saw that thing in the theaters. But we have a hearkening back to that type of storytelling. Remember Jar Jar Binks? Who forgot him? We have the droids, when they are working on Mando's ship, we have them sort of channeling a little bit of Jar Jar Binks with the silliness. And I think this is going to be something that we see periodically in this series. An attempt to reclaim episodes 1, 2, and 3. Because they were universally panned, universally hated, yada, yada, yada. We've had some time to breathe. We've had some time to get over that. And Disney certainly wants those 3 movies and characters therefrom to be profitable. And I think Dave Filoni does as well. Dave Filoni has talked at great length about what the episodes 1, 2, and 3, whatever that trilogy is called, what that trilogy means to him, meant to him as a storyteller, meant to him as a budding storyteller, meant to him as a Star Wars fan. So I think there's going to be a concerted effort to reclaim at least small parts of that. These droids, I believe, were from those original episodes anyway, so to see them using Jar Jar Binks' type of slapstick comedy might be a way to say, hey, that wasn't all bad, was it? Right? I mean, we just snuck Jar Jar in there. There was a bunch of stuff that was serious. I mean, the whole first trilogy was about trade negotiations with China or whatever. I don't know. So if we just slip some of this type in there, maybe you will retroactively go back to that original series. After all, it's here. It's here on Disney Plus. Don't you want to watch it? Don't you want to watch it between seasons of The Mandalorian? Maybe we could even sell you a Darth Maul figure in the meantime, right? Maybe we could sell you a revision, this whole new look for Boba Fett. Wouldn't you like one of these action figures? It is just interesting to see those things play in and play up. But if we're talking themes, it is impossible. It would be maybe not impossible, but certainly short-sighted to talk about this episode and themes herein without mentioning the theme of racism. But, hey, is this going to be Get Woke, Grow Broke? We had a whole lot of not getting woke and going broke in season 1 of The Mandalorian. Are we going to get into it now? Did we flip the script? I don't think so. And there's a whole lot of reasons why I don't think so. A, this is a trope from Westerns. It really is. You have the Mandalorian interpreting between the two, and the Marshal is certainly a stand-in for an old Western town. So here we have the Tuscan Raiders, a stand-in for the Indian characters. The people of the land, the people whom it was told to us in season 1, they see you as the invaders, right? But I don't think it's a whole get woke, grow broke thing, because the Tuscan Raiders have always been hated and feared. So all we're doing is getting a decent chance to re-envision these characters with a trope that fits great into this series. And it's not ham-fisted. It's not a ham-fisted attempt, right? It sort of works right into the episode. And it's not, so one of the things that Get Woke, Go Broke does is that it points a giant finger and says, you're bad and you've been wrong this whole time. This episode does not do that. This episode takes everything fairly, and the Mandalorian tells us, you guys all hate each other because you're all doing your own thing. We can work together, we can sort this out, and then we can live in peace. The final thing I want to say, that's the dragon. That's chaos. That's chaos. Jordan Peterson, thank you.